What's up, guys? Welcome to episode number 2 of the Flockery. My name is Charles Reese. I am joined by the great Lynden Burton. Lynden, how you doing tonight?
Doing well, my brother. Flock up. I love that we're bringing it back. So, and I'm glad you picked a great name. You were always behind Flock Up as our slogan. You never really were into All In. I like Won't Back Down, but Flock Up is the best. Like, just being point blank, but doing well. Thank you to everybody who listened to our first episode. Thank you to all the people who had a great response, who commented on YouTube. Remember, if you are watching on YouTube, if you could leave a comment, if you could leave a like, that would help us out so much, because that'll get other people to see it and it'll go in other feeds. And we want to keep this free as long as we can. And that's the way we do it. So please, 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 it would mean a lot to us if you could subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube. But thank you to everybody who supported and listened to the first episode. Got a good response.
Absolutely. We appreciate that. Please like and share across all platforms because that helps us give more content out. But let's get this one started. Look, Pelicans are 3-1. The Lakers are 0-3. And we were looking good not only for the season, but also for the draft pick that will be coming our way in the offseason.
I'm going to say this. I think, and I'm glad that I'm doing this with you, I think it's time we bury the AD hate. And you know what? Somebody was talking to me the other day. They were like, Lynden, your team is good. It's over with. Y'all are about to get the draft pick from them. After this season, can we bury the AD hate? And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to openly hate on him anymore. I'm going to always root for the Lakers to lose so we can get our good draft picks. But I think it's time, because without AD doing this, we wouldn't be where we're at right now. And I'd much rather be where we are than dealing with the AD teams. How do you feel about that?
Lyndon's never lived in New Orleans. All right. We're not going to buy the chips, right? The hurricane.
Oh, no, never.
Our chips will be there. He can take that and whatever else he promotes and get the hell out of our city. Our state.
So. I was just asking. Y'all let us know in the comments. Y'all let us know. That's a question. Should we bury the AD hate? But yeah, man, 3-1. We're looking good. And I think the last game, which was, by the time you guys are hearing this on Thursday, this game was 2 days ago, against the Mavericks. That game said a lot about us, Charles. That game showed the world that, this Pelicans depth is serious.
Yeah, so just to go over some things real quick, as you look at the Pelicans, and they're 3-1. They have wins over Charlotte. They have a win over the Nets, which we started our first episode off of. And they have a win last night against the Mavs, which really we'll get into, but is somewhat improbable. Not something I was expecting and many were expecting with where the roster was last night. And also on top of that, you have a game where you're a 6-point dog at home and you win. You hold off guys, and we'll get into that. And look, you have the one loss came to the Jazz. The Jazz are a team that
they're playing hard. I can't
really get a beat on.
Yeah,
they have a lot of older talent with some
young guys.
Yeah, and look, they don't have that one guy, but they're somewhat loaded. I think at some point that team will fall off, but really, you got a 1-point loss, like in a game where
Zion didn't play like for the rest of the game.
Yeah, Zion played, got the injury. Brandon Ingram got the concussion. Pretty early on, and so you kind of had to come over some adversity. Unfortunately, they got it to overtime. They came back, but they weren't able to ultimately put them away. And look, the Pelicans getting ready to go on a West Coast
one, and we're going to talk about that. But to the Jazz, you just tip your cap. You say good game because you didn't expect that. What surprises me is Markkanen. I think Lauri Markkanen is finally getting the opportunity to really be the one, and he's taking it in stride. Dude scoring 30 points, 20, 25 plus for these first couple of games. Him and young bull Colin Sexton are leading this team, so you tip your cap to them. But the Mavericks win is the one that is huge, and if that's where you want to start, I have a lot to say about that game.
Well, let's start with Charlotte
Okay.
because Charlotte was a game that, you could look at it and you look at the way that that game played out is really it was, I don't know if you could say it was a letdown to where they were in, but it was a game where the Pelicans didn't play their best, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a game that, you lose, you're 1-1, somewhat understandable, right? But the Pelicans come and they have a really good first quarter. Same thing with the second quarter. And the big thing is they never gave the lead up. And
Mm-hmm.
what I look at it is it's a team in a game where they beat who they should beat, right? And Charlotte is the perfect thing is they say good teams win, great teams cover. And that's what the Pelicans are doing right now is they're covering against guys. They're beating teams they should beat. And Charlotte, perfect example. It's a team that you should beat, you know?
Yeah, we talked about
Um,
that. We talked about that in the first episode. That was something we were looking to see. Do they, the Pelicans of old, all the AD teams, the Dell Demps teams, those teams would play down the competition. And like you said, they didn't play their best, but the old Pelicans team would have lost that. So they made sure to not play down to their competition and win the game handily. And it was one of those things where, okay, BI isn't the lead scorer. Okay, it's Jonas this time. Okay, Jonas gets a lot, 30. BI gets 28. CJ gets 21, and Zion's the one that's out of the 20 range. It just shows you how much this team can beat you multiple ways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right. And you kind of just look at what this Pelicans team has done this year and what they've been able to do. And we talk about depth. And look, this is just perfect segue into the Mavericks game, which the Pelicans ended up winning. Even though Luka Doncic gave his best effort to
He torched us.
yeah, he gave his best effort to take that game and win it for the Mavs. I will say that we'll get into something about him, but the Pelicans where they're sitting right now in terms of their bench output is for the season they're averaging 19.1 minutes per game, but in terms of production they're averaging 34 a game right now from the bench, which I know this last game kind of gave a little bit more to
Skewed
where
it,
they
but
and you've seen that in other games, but this bench is good. This team is stacked. We finally see Dyson Daniels, and that's where I'm going with Luka is Dyson frustrated him.
yes, he did.
Dyson's minutes showed and look, Schmidt said it best the other day as he said, really going to get frustrated if I see Dyson not get minutes and Temple get those minutes Dyson should get. Is Dyson's learning, he's growing into his own.
And we didn't play Temple. That was the huge thing.
Exactly. And last night I really, really enjoyed seeing him get on the court and make an impact.
Yes, sir. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. It play good defense, show why we drafted him high for his defensive IQ. But like you said, he does. Dyson Daniels, you know what he is to me? He does, and I'm not comparing him to the player. I'm comparing what they do. Dyson Daniels everything that we wanted Lonzo Ball to do. Attack the glass, play make, and play good defense, and is long. Lonzo Ball didn't attack the glass. He didn't attack the rim. He wasn't looking to score. Dyson Daniels does that. Plus, he has the playmaking of Alonzo and the defense is honestly better. So that is amazing to see. But to me, for this game, I got to tip my cap to Trey Murphy III. My goodness. 22 points, 8 of 8. The guy showed that, you remember in the first episode, I told you that maybe the Pelicans need to make a trade for either a scorer off the bench or a big man who can rim protect an athletic big. You could take the scorer off the bench out of there. Trey Murphy is that guy. And I know y'all are probably thinking Lynden is 4 games. No. This kid showed me he can be our 6th man of the year and can be that guy off the bench. He has enough firepower to do it, and just bravo to him. He learned how to now not only just catch and shoot. I think of the transition catch, pull up 3 that they passed to him, but no, it wasn't that. It was him catching on the wing, crossover, 2 dribbles, dunking on him. It was just beautiful. Trey Murphy couldn't do that last year, and now he's expanded his game to where, okay, when CJ is getting ready to be done, Trey slides up and is part of the core, baby.
Yeah, and look, like Joe Myers says, trigger.
Yeah,
Trey.
trigger.
He was 100% from the floor.
8-8.
8 for 8 for field goal, 4 for 4 from threes. Was 100 on his free throws. And 100% on his free throws. And look, he's impressive, right?
Yeah, he is.
To start in that game because of BI and Zion not being there. And I think that you're seeing his game evolve. Is last year, most of the year, the talk was about Herb, and that talk's still there, right?
For sure.
But what can Trey bring? And that's that offensive firepower, a tall, lanky wing that has the ability to beat people off the drill and can post up and shoot the ball.
And catching three. Like,
perfect,
Trey's
right?
bag is deep, man. He's a 3-level scorer, and I don't know if he was that last year.
No, and I'll tell you what, I don't think he was, right? But the big thing for me is it's like you see some of what this output was for the team is you played some heavy minutes on your starters, and really, some people might be a little down on Jonas's production past couple of games, but these weren't games where Jonas shines. But you see it overall is.
You saw it in the Hornets game. When you need Jonas, you can rely on him. This wasn't necessarily a Jonas game. To me, and to your point, this was one of those games where, and I'm going to be honest, where Jackson Hayes should, if he was developed to where we wanted him to be, this is a game where he should have played because you have a Christian Wood, someone who's athletic. And it goes back to what I'm saying, Charles, of how we may need an athletic big off the bench who can be able to defend at a higher level. Maybe a Clint Capella, because Houston will be looking to get rid of him with a Kongwu stepping up to what it is. That's something we may need to look into with maybe a Miles Turner because I don't think Jackson Hayes is going to be ready for this season.
I don't know, man. Jackson did play.
He did play.
He logged his 13 minutes. Uneventful. But he is coming back.
I'm gonna give him some time. If I'm being nitpicky, that's my nitpick for right now. And that's something I just want us to watch over time. And you're right. He is coming back from injury. Let me give him a chance. I think by November 26th, if the play hasn't improved, then this conversation becomes a little bit louder.
Yeah. And look, it's early in the season, but last year you saw with the Pelicans where that it was a fight to get into the playoffs. You have to start out strong, and that's important. And the idea of running and looking for guys to replace people, that comes more so, and I think that some of those thoughts will come more over the next 3 games. They play the Suns and the Clippers, both teams that I think are very good in the West. And then they play the winless Lakers.
But you can't even overlook that Warriors game next Friday. That's the one that I need BI and Zion to be playing for so we can make a statement.
Well, and look, let me finish my comment about.
Go ahead.
So I don't think that we're in a position now to look at what we're going to do in terms of adding guys or anything like that. It's too soon.
For sure. That's a deadline thing.
You have to exactly, or as we get a little further into the season, but you got to look at what this team's doing now, and it's that 3-1 team. It's that exciting team, late showing up crowd, but at the end, basketball city is showing itself. This team is the focus right now. This team of what they have and what they can be is, people are going to say, oh, well, Zion's hurt again. No, Zion fought hard to get back into that game.
Yes, he did. And it was an egregious, as someone who used to play basketball, I know you'll agree with this. And I'm not going to take credit for this. Worldwide Wob said it on his show, but I'm starting to believe this. If someone undercuts someone, that should be a flagrant, man, because once you're in the air, it's hard to control, especially if someone undercuts you. That's a bad foul. So for him to fight to get up, a bone bruise. The Pelicans don't want to take no chance with that. The guy's going to be okay. I'm not worried about Zion.
Yeah, I mean, it's an 82 game season. And so, a few nicks beginning the season, it's all right. I mean, you don't really see concussions happen in the NBA.
Rare.
Has one. Zion will be back, understanding is playing against the Suns in a few days, So I'm not concerned about that. And I know some people may talk about that. They may mention that, especially on a national level, but they need to understand.
I have heard that on a national level.
There's nothing to be concerned about with the injury to either guy right now. And look, there's a few things that you can highlight. Is obviously we've highlighted Trigger, we highlighted Jonas against Charlotte. Really, I was very impressed with CJ's performance against the Jazz.
Okay. I was about to say, I thought you were gonna say the Mavericks. I was gonna get on you for the Mavericks, but the Jazz.
Whenever you look at the game and you look at losing two of your big three, right? And you look what CJ was able to do. It is, CJ finishes that game with 28 points.
He balled out.
The guy. I've always found that CJ is a guy that is a really good regular season guy. CJ against the Jazz showed why you want him in New Orleans with his basketball ability to create offense for the Pelicans. Whenever you lose two of your big three, and with that being said, I thought CJ played well in that game. Now CJ, like Jonas to a degree, will have some up and down games. He'll always give you his average. This is one of the games where he was above average when he needed to be. And it really kind of, to a degree, instills some confidence that he is what you need him to be when you need him. Right.
And to your point about the type of guy you want in New Orleans, just the way his demeanor in his post game about him saying, yeah, I needed to take that charge because at that time I wasn't hitting shots and I needed to make a winning play. And then that leads to him knocking down shots in the fourth when we need him, hitting clutch baskets against the Mavericks, having clutch defensive stops, but still involving himself by getting 11 assists. Bravo, CJ.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's the thing of a guy that is experienced like he is, a guy that has the ability to to affect the game offensively and in a leadership role. Is if you're not producing in terms of the point column, you find ways to
get the game
involved. And this column from the Mavericks game is a perfect example. Is the crazy thing about that game, Lynden, is you had 8 guys in double figures. 8 of the 9 guys that played were in double figures.
Depth, baby. We are deep
against a team that
is a playoff team.
Yes, is more than a playoff team. It is arguably top 5, top 6 team in the West.
With the MVP, with my MVP for the year. In Luka, my presumed MVP. So look, I get it. That team is good. And I saw people on Twitter saying, oh, this would be a great playoff matchup. And I'm like, y'all don't want that, Mavs fans. Y'all didn't even see us with our 3 dogs. And y'all saying this is a good playoff matchup. y'all might get swept.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought that this Mavs game was a game that, you will see potentially in the future. But with the Mavs, I think that their strengths don't line up well against the Pelicans. Yes, they have a star, and it's hard to stop Luka. You can throw multiple guys out, and that's another point I would make about with Dyson, amongst other people, is you can throw a lot of guys at him. You can throw length, you can throw speed, you can throw lockdown guys like Herb on him.
Najee.
Najee, and I thought Najee had a great game.
Played good.
And that's the thing is let's we can talk about the points, we can talk about things like that. We can talk about the turnover to assist ratio, which I think could be a little bit improved, but beginning of the
Nitpicky stuff. You're right. Like if we're gonna be, we gotta look if we can praise them. Just like I have issues with the rim protection. That's another thing that we have to look at. That you clean up going towards the playoffs. I'm glad you called it out. The assist to turnover ratio 100% could be better because if you look at it against the Mavs, we had 14 turnovers to 25 assists. We want to get that up to like 30 assists and maybe like 10 turnovers.
Yeah, and so the big thing for me is we talked about it a lot in the first episode, but continuing to see the chemistry is, even the NBA posted something where it was like dancing their way into a victory or something like that. And it's like the young guys, man, it ridiculous how these interviews are, remind me of stuff you see kind of towards the end of the season when a team's won, 60, 50 games. They're getting ready
for the playoffs.
And it's like, we're game 4 into the season. Like,
I'm telling you, man, it just feels different into New Orleans to where, me and you normally watching basketball, we start talking about basketball around Christmas, around January. But it just feels like I need to be watching every Pelicans game because it's so important this season. And not only do we feel that, but the team feels that. To your point, they're showing it, dancing, excited. You don't see that from other teams. Other teams are like, oh, yeah, the season just started, whatever. And that's why I think it's important to have a guy like CJ as your leader. Because look at, for example, Philly and their young guys, what they have to deal with. They have James Harden, someone who's lackadaisical. Look at KD and Kyrie. But the fact is, with CJ, it's someone who had to work to become a star. So for a guy like Zion, who's already been a star, it's like, oh, I need to work. And for everybody else, it's like, oh, I can work to be a star. And it's just perfect right now for this team. But I want to give credit to, take a moment to, because what has been beautiful throughout all 4 games is the defense, and you have to give credit to Willie Green for that. Coach Green is showing why he's a Coach of the Year candidate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If Willie Green's not at the top, then
I don't know what they doing.
Not watching basketball, right?
Yeah.
Maybe watching a different sport, maybe watching the NFL or something like that. Or, you just stick with the big market teams, and, Phil Jackson's not coaching anymore. So
Pop has a loser.
Yeah. Willie's doing a great job with them. And I think the team has done a lot, and it's a true testament to what guys like BI, what a guy like CJ coming in has done for this team, amongst others with Larry Nance, with Garrett Temple, is cultivating an environment that people enjoy to be in. People enjoy going to work. Then at the end of the day, this is work for the guys, but it doesn't feel like it. It seems like on the outside,
Nope.
It is, and it's not just a show thing, right? It's not just Jose Alvarado. It's not just Trey Murphy. It's like throughout. It's like I saw Najee Marshall. It's like
it's Jonas, who's a stoic guy who doesn't really like show emotions. He's getting into it. Like, that's how you know.
And so it breeds success, right? It breeds confidence, and that's something that this team's going to have because first game of this road trip is against the Suns team that Booker is hot.
Yes, he is
hot.
He's killing.
And that they're facing a team that is 3-1 on the season. They're facing a team that I would say
is not underestimating you. They're coming in guns blazing.
Yeah, they saw you in the playoffs, and while you didn't take it to 7, you still were
kind of embarrassed them.
You were enough of a threat where they noticed you, and they see that you're healthier now. You have Zion, and the whole talk was, the Pels have Zion. Do they win? And their only game so far they've lost is an overtime game to the Trail Blazers, and regular season Dame went
incredible.
Off.
Yeah,
he does. But the Suns team did beat the Clippers. They beat the Mavs, and they really destroyed the Warriors. So you've got a team that has confidence. You have a team that's been there and to the highest level of basketball to where you want to be, and a team that's full of experience to the point that you kind of expect you kind of expect this team to come in cool, calm, and collected. And I want to see how the Pelicans react, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be a playoff environment almost, man. You got to think that they're coming ready. Like CP3 remembers the trash talk Jose Alvarado was talking. He remembers that Herb Jones didn't want to pick up his hand. Chris Paul, if you look at the stats, like you said, it's been Booker going off. Don't be surprised if this is Chris Paul's big game to start the season because he hasn't had one yet.
Yeah, and look, Aiton's been playing as well as some of their key support guys.
Cam Johnson in the starting role, he's been playing good.
Yes, he has, and that's the thing that this team has is they have length, they have size,
they match up well against us.
They defend, and they defend some more. So, it's going to be a harder game for a guy like Bi, especially coming back after not playing for a few days. And it's gonna be a good game or a big game for CJ. Is if Bi is getting locked down, what can CJ do against a defense that kind of held him in check? And then the ultimate thing is these second year guys, where do they continue, right?
Where do they figure to fit in? Where do they slide in? But to tack on, a key that I have is Zion Williamson. There's no one on that team that can guard you. Zero. If you're playing, and this is if Zion's playing, which we assume he will because Coach Green did say they were looking for Friday for him to play, both him and Herb. But if Zion plays, there's no Jay Crowder. There's no big body unless Ayton's guarding you, which he has to guard Jonas. This is a game that the Pelicans need to dominate the paint like we talked about against the Nets. Jonas and Zion need to go for 50-plus points in the paint.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, it's going to be a game where attacking the paint's going to be important, but also being able to shoot the ball so you can
kickouts. Yep.
To be important as well as continuing to share the ball.
Trey Murphy, be ready to kick out and shoot. Devontae Graham, Devontae played great. We talked about trading him. Devontae has shown without when Brandon Ingram and Zion haven't been there, he's been playing good. So if you want to continue to get minutes, Devontae, we need you to knock down those catch and shoots. Jose, be ready because they will be collapsing a lot in that Suns game. Monty Williams plays a lot of help defense. We know because Willie Green comes from that system. So they'll be helping a lot. So will Zion's gravity that he draws, Trey Murphy, be ready to knock it down. Najee, be ready to knock it down. Because they're not going to help too much off of Bi and CJ. It's the others. Like you said, how do they figure their way in with the starters and where do they fit? Going to be interesting to see.
No, absolutely. And, it's going to be a big game, another big test. And look, to a degree, it's like every single night in the NBA can be a test.
Probably I'll have to do an episode that Monday after the Clippers game because the Clippers looks like it talks Suns Clippers because that's another one right after that'll be really big to start the week next week because you go winless Lakers, which the Lakers always try to play big against us, but then Warriors next Friday. So it starts with the Suns.
Yeah, and it starts with the Suns as a big test. I think the Clippers are talented. It's a team that we talked about in that first episode. Who they're off to a 2-2 start. Have somewhat of a sense of struggle going on, trying to get their feet under them as they did lose to the Suns.
Yeah.
Lost to the Thunder, so they lost their last two games.
They're dealing with how to play with no Kawhi here, Kawhi here. They're dealing with like rehab stuff.
Yeah, and look, they get another shot at the Thunder tonight as this episode comes out on Thursday. And then they get a couple days off and then
a shot at us.
And they've got the firepower that they can do what they want to, and they can
and they're deep like us.
Yeah, and they are deep because they have a great bench.
Yeah, they do.
They've been known for their bench for the past years. and they've got two of the best, probably top
Wings.
5 guys in the league.
Yep.
So it's a big game for Herb, a big game for Bi if he's playing at that point.
And to your point, I would love to see Dyson maybe get some minutes in that game. Like that's a Dyson game. Let's play the 6'7" guy.
Yeah, I think Dyson is a permanent type of rotation guy right now. Do I think that continues as we get down the stretch? We shall see, right?
It depends on him. Yeah.
But this is the time where he can learn. This is the time where he can get experience. This is the time where he can grow his game throughout the season, as we saw with some of our rookies from last year. This is an opportunity for him to show what he is capable of and find his place within this organization and this roster. So I do think that he gets some minutes, the 10 to 15 minutes. I think is perfect for both games, to be honest. I think that both teams have really good wings. And then you go and play the Lakers, a team that still has LeBron James.
And Anthony Davis, who will want to play good against us.
Yeah, and I hurt Anthony Davis, whether it's that game before or the day before.
This guy.
But winning on the road is big, and this Pelicans team so far this season has shown that they are a good team on the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coming in a place where you play on the road, you win. I'm not saying that the Pelicans go and they win 3 in a row on this road trip, but you come away 2-1.
That's big.
5-2 on the season, and here come the Warriors, right? You play the Suns, you play the Warriors, you play the Mavs, you play the Clippers. You're talking about some of the best teams in the West.
All I'm missing is the Nuggets. Then I've seen, yeah.
Exactly. And so you're starting out the season strong in certain aspects before you kind of take a step back and you play against some of the
I won't say lesser tier, but just middle of the road guys. But that's important because, okay, you got out of your bed to play the good boys. But like we said, how do you play against people that aren't as good who challenge you? Will you, like you said, will you just win or will you cover? Are you going to be a good team or are you going to be a great team?
Yeah. And look, man, I'll continue to say it. And I know you're on the same page as me as I'm excited for this team.
Yeah.
They're fun to watch. The environment in the Smoothie King Center.
I'm ready to get to the game.
You need to. But look, we got 3 games coming up. Whether we do an episode between the Clippers and the Lakers, y'all will see. But in terms of the Suns, Clippers, and Lakers, how do you think this Pels team finishes after this 3-game road trip?
Okay, I'm gonna say 2-1. I'm gonna be, not overly optimistic. I'll say we'll get a loss in there somewhere. But 2-1, I'm thinking we win against the Suns, get a redemption. The Clippers is where I think we'll get a loss, and I think we'll beat the Lakers.
Yeah, look, I think there's a good shot for this team to go 3-0 in this road series.
Look, I don't disagree. I just was trying to be not overly optimistic.
I think the big thing will be against a veteran team in the Suns is how your assist to turnover ratio goes. And if Bi plays, if Bi doesn't play, then I see this as a 2-1 road trip. But either way, is I do see the Pelicans, above the 500 mark on a 3 trip, which just continues to propel where this team is 5-2. I mean, no one would have said this would be what our record was at the beginning of last year after the first 10 games. And I know that's something that people will continue to grab to at the beginning of the season, but it's realistic, right? It's not just headline, it's what it is. So
this team, exactly. Like this is who we are. Y'all accept it and stop being shocked because this is what it is.
And the only thing that changed when it comes to the roster is adding a Dyson Daniels and adding
a healthy Zion.
a CJ McCollum. Well, Zion was on the team, right?
Oh yeah, true.
Even with those pieces, is there was still some doubt into what this team would be this year. And finishing this road trip 2-1 or 3-0, I think will further cement that people know who the Pelicans are. And if that wasn't the case after the Nets game, it'll continue to be a case, and you'll start to see more and more teams play their best game
And
against them.
look, the reason why that Warriors game even more important because we know that the NBA changes the national televised schedule as the season continues to be based upon wins and losses. And the Lakers are the second most in the West. They're going to cut that shit down dramatically. But against the Warriors, nationally televised game, it's another statement setter to be like, okay, we're on TV Friday night. Let's show out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as we wrap up this episode 2 of the Flockery.
Lock up.
Lynden, what is going on with the network? Where can people check out some of the other stuff that's going on?
Yes, sir. You can follow me at LynnBWT. Follow the Bros Who Think at Bros Who Think. The Bros Who Think podcast will be out on Friday. By the time you guys hear this, Anime Talk will be out on Friday as well. We will have more manga content coming out on the YouTube, as well as the wrestling show, the Work Shoot Show, episode 5. We will be drafting the perfect wrestling company. That'll be out by Saturday. So we got a lot of good stuff coming out on YouTube and audio-wise. So just be on the lookout. Oh, as well as Run It Back is back. Ian and myself will be reviewing Rush Hour, the classic Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan movie. So make sure you watch it on Netflix. The review will be out by Sunday. So a lot of good stuff dropping this week.
Y'all check that out. Remember, like and share across all platforms. If you haven't subscribed yet on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the like button. Leave some comments. Let us know what you think about the Pels starting out 3-1 on the season as they go into a 3-game road trip against a familiar foe in the Suns, is the team that knocked the Pelicans out of the postseason last year. But for Lynden Burton, my name is Charles Reese. Y'all enjoy y'all's week. Go watch some Pelicans basketball. And as always, flock up.
Flock up!